It's the Chivecast, the Star Wars Collector's Archive podcast, a monthly audio magazine dedicated to vintage Star Wars toys and memorabilia. Hosted by Skye Payne, Fudd, and Stephen B. Denley. Market data by Brisbane Mike and Fratastic Pete. Tech support by the Low Part. Let's go, space freaks. On this month's Chivecast, Skye and Steve talk about the serial killer bounty hunter Forlom and his mysterious debut. Later, they are joined by Bill Wills and Fratastic Pete to have a very in-depth talk about mailers and bagged Kenner figures, also known as Baggies.
My baggies!
Plus, a competitive market watch and the first ever on-air purchase on this month's Vintage Pod.
My baggies!
Wampa Wampa.
Welcome to Chivecast 74.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Forlom.
It's our last Empire figure, right?
Yes, next episode we'll be talking about... That's how you say Admiral Akbar in Mont Calamari.
Yes, yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah, it's been... I've had a tough day, Steve. It's included my dog biting me. It's included being sick and overdosing on antihistamines. It's included that same dog completely destroying my couch. But, you know, nothing brings me happiness like recording the Chivecast.
Yeah. I was hoping that this would kind of lift your spirits a little bit, right?
I've actually got a kind of a sore throat, so while you're talking, Steve, I actually have a fudgicle, which I love fudgicles, by the way.
Oh.
I have a fudgicle in my hand, and so every time you talk, I just eat a fudgicle. Well, that's kind of homoerotic. But every time you talk, I have some fudgicle. So you want? How are you doing, Steve? While I eat some fudgicle.
I'm doing okay. Better day than you, but yeah, it feels like wasn't that long ago we were recording, so it's kind of fun to feel like we're just right back at it.
Yeah, well, you know, it's funny because the summer for me can either be way easier to record and edit a podcast or way harder. So this month it's actually been a fair amount easier. I felt like I was able to record a little bit. I sent out some questions ahead of time. So I feel actually really prepared, which scares me. I feel like it's going to throw off the rhythm of the show.
I don't think so. No fear, Skye. It's going to be fine.
But speaking of throwing off the rhythm of the show, you haven't heard it yet, Steve. But I recorded a new intro.
Yeah. I'm all for it. I'm curious to hear.
Basically, I'm kind of skipping to the point a little bit more. We don't need like 4.5 minutes of Kenner quotes or whatever. I just boiled it down to Star Wars toys.
Star Wars toys.
And Wampa! And that's about it. And then just basically...
The bare essentials.
Yeah, the bare essentials, because I think we just go... I think we went too far with the first two, and by we, I mean me. But yeah, I was thinking about putting our feedback up front.
Oh, sure.
Well, mainly, it's a tale of two feedbacks, Steve.
Okay, that's true, yeah.
So, the feedback to episode 72, you know, a very solid episode, if you want brief and bring the Zuckus, you know, got maybe a half a page on Rebel Scum. But then for some reason, the feedback on episode 73 went on for 6 pages. The whole internet wanted to know about Chivecast 73. All of a sudden, Steve, everybody wants to know about our show.
Controversy.
Controversy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I think I explained it well enough why we didn't air the fluffy interview.
Right. Yeah.
But I did get a little demoralized, Steve, when I found out that people were bootlegging our show.
Yeah, I did catch your response to that, and luckily the one that was, I guess, the only one I'd seen that was kind of public, they took it down, which is good. But
I mean, I don't mind people like sending it. You know, I mean, I understand people are going to send it and they really want to hear, and that's right. Like, I can't really stop that. But hosting it as being like, "Hey, everybody, come over here and get it," that's kind of against the spirit of the show.
Right. Yeah.
And the most frustrating thing is, for the most part, I've got nothing but totally glowing reviews on the Chivecast After Dark. Well,
But then again, people also really like the interview with Jonathan Robinson. So
Yeah. Did you get a chance to catch his documentary yet?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
It was funny because he asked me like a week ago, and then I said I hadn't watched it yet. And then I watched it, and I forgot to email him. So he's a loyal space freak, so here's my review. It's good. Oh.
Yeah, we just watched it the other night. I need to rewatch Close Encounters again. So you had done that before. I should have done that. I just didn't have time. But
yeah, it's a little bit more engaging if you understand the scenes that they're pointing out.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the train station, and this is the hangar, and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So that's as much as we're going to get into to feedback. I mean, there was a lot of like conspiracy theories about why did we really pull it down and what's really going on. I think the idea is, I hope that we're going to get Ron and Chris and Fluffy all on to tell those stories in a way that's perhaps less, what's the word? Embellished?
Maybe. Yeah, that's one word. Yeah.
Yeah. A little bit less vulgar. We'll just say that.
It's Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back action figures. 47 in all, each sold separately. Here's new Bespin Guard, AT-AT Commander, and Imperial TIE Fighter pilot. Now you can get this new 4LOM action figure free for 5 proofs of purchase from any Star Wars action figures. Details on specially marked packages at participating stores. Offer expires August 31st, 1982. New Bespin Guard, new AT-AT Commander, new Imperial TIE Fighter pilot, each sold separately. From Kenner's Star Wars The Empire Strikes Back collection.
What is our figure of the month, Steve?
Good old 4LOM, or 4LOM.
This new 4LOM action figure free.
Now, what have you always said, Steve?
I have always said 4LOM, but I think it's mainly just because that's just easier to say. I mean, I honestly hadn't seen the Kenner commercial, which says otherwise until, relatively recently. So I was always 4LOM, but what about you?
Well, this is weird, Steve. I agree. I've never agreed with you on any kind of pronunciation thing.
Most of the time, yeah, you're right. This is first.
Yeah, no, I've always said 4LOM.
Okay.
And I was actually toying around with making a song, 4 to the Izel, O to the Mize. But you'll be thankful to know that I will not be making that.
Oh, okay. Well.
But yeah, 4LOM just...
It doesn't sound right? I don't know.
It just doesn't make sense. But I guess it makes sense with C-3PO or...
Yeah, with the logic of other droid pronunciation, I guess. But
that kind of goes into the other thing we're going to be talking about this month, Steve, which are baggies.
Yes. Yeah.
And I sort of thought about baggies because I was thinking about 4LOM. We're just going to call him 4LOM because that's his name.
All right.
I was thinking about 4LOM, and I was thinking about how he was a mail-away offer,
right. Yeah.
And he's one of our last mail-away offers. And I started watching all of the videos of the commercials.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool because I've noticed there's a lot of similarities if you watch all the vintage mail-away commercials. First of all, unlike the rest of them, they are not like kids playing.
Right.
It's always... a single figure standing in front of a large assemblage of figures.
Right.
Every single one of them wears wide lapels and V-neck sweaters. I mean, just watch.
Yeah.
They get younger and younger as you go through.
Yeah, that's
it
right.
actually starts, and I want to confirm this, but I believe that for the Boba Fett one, which is the first commercial for the mail-away, I believe it's actually the voice who does, new from Kenner.
The main voice, yeah.
Yeah, I believe that's actually him talking. I'd love to have...
From Kenner's Star Wars collection comes the Stormtrooper, the Sand People, and all 20 action figures, including new Hammerhead, Snaggletooth, and more, each sold separately. And now, Boba Fett, Star Wars villain with his laser rifle.
And then you just get all these wrong pronunciations, like 9-Num.
New action figure not yet available in stores. It's 9-Num.
AT-AT Commander.
AT-AT Commander.
And 4LOM.
And 4LOM.
All these incorrect. God.
Right.
It just screwing up left and right.
Because, Steve, you agreed with me earlier in the episode that it's 4LOM, not 4LOM. And the reason that you thought that the reason that you think it could be foil OM is because of the commercials. Ipso facto, 9num is incorrect because it's in the commercials, and AT-AT driver is incorrect because it's in the commercials.
Right.
Book it. I may be sick, but I am on point. And then if you just watch them, there's all these weird prototypes.
Yeah.
Like in the Nyen Nub one, like there's this weird Chewy I've never seen before. In the one for the Bosk offer, it's very visibly a proof card. It's a Sand People proof card.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we've talked a little bit about the mail-away commercials, but that just sort of got me going down this path of like, how do we approach 4LOM? How do we bring something new to the episode?
Right.
And I realized, Steve, I don't know anything about baggies.
Yeah, neither do I. So
I mean nothing. I'm serious. I know nothing.
I knew that there were a lot of variations, but as far as telling one from the other, I couldn't do it. So.
And I think we've gone over variations. We've done a little bit of mailers.
Right.
We've done other things that you and I don't know about. But we've just been afraid of baggies. So we're going to be talking to Bill Wills. I believe he's the best collector whose name rhymes. And we'll be speaking to our very own Fratastic Pete.
Yes.
All about baggies. I realize, Steve, I actually don't think we can talk about all baggies. Because I just started dipping my toe. I went into the Facebook baggie group.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
And I started looking around, and I discovered this guide to European baggies.
Oh man, that's right. That's a whole other realm.
By Frank Muse on the Star Wars Forum UK.
Yeah.
And it is more information than we are going to get to today.
Yeah.
So we are going to be talking about Kenner US baggies.
Right.
We might touch on a couple of foreign baggies, but it turns out there's a huge story.
Oh yeah.
Now, what do you think about the term baggies, Steve?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think I associated it with anything else other than vintage Star Wars collecting. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I don't think I've used the term baggie or like associated with anything out in like regular life. It's just I just think of Star Wars figures.
It kind of reminds me of other like widely used terminology in the Kenner collecting, like in vintage collecting. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Like Troopies.
That was just teed up, right?
Oh, Steve.
Just.
I'm on fire. So, Steve, I am totally in on Facebook now. I love it. I bet people
can see that.
People can go back and listen to the episodes like 2 years ago where I'm complaining about Facebook. I'm all about it, Steve. I've been having more fun.
You're completely utilizing that medium to spread your message. That's.
So for those of you that didn't listen to last month's episode, I just think it's really funny. There's all these annoying terms in the hobby that we hate. And so I thought, what if I created one? And what if I was able to get it to actually spread? And so I created Troopies to describe stormtroopers. I made a series of memes that, be honest, Steve, they're quite well designed.
Oh, they're there's a lot of effort you put into this thing.
This is the diabolical part about the meme, Steve. Not only did I start a meme that said real vintage collectors call them Troopies.
Right.
Which is just great because, like, wait, what? No, we don't. I also started the hashtag Never Troopy movement. So, like Palpatine, I manipulated both sides.
You did.
And by creating resistance, I thereby validated the existence of Troopies in the first place. And now, Steve, Troopies are a thing. They are officially a thing. And Snow Troopers are now officially Snoopies. And Scout Troopers are Scoopies. This has happened, Steve. So, you are welcome, Vintage Hobby. This is Stephen Danley's contribution to collecting.
Yes. Fully endorsed.
You're like Jar Jar. You're like, Dello Feligits.
Oh,
Give emergency powers to Skye Payne to create Troopies.
Yep, that's exactly what this is. Lord.
All right, let's get back to Forlom,
Yes,
Steve.
let's get back to Forlom here.
Do you have any thoughts about the figures?
I will say that, like a lot of kind of the obscure figures, when I first found one, I didn't quite know who he was. I had no idea. But one thing I kind of thought about was that the first one I had, well, this is probably one reason I was confused. He didn't have the cloak or his like armor, so it was just this kind of really non-intimidating bug alien thing. Like, what is this? A cantina guy? And I had no idea that he was the bounty hunter until I found the complete one and saw the card back and all that later. But yeah,
now, I would like to put forth that Forlom is the stupidest looking character without his cape.
Yes, that's actually what I'd written down just as a note was that he goes from like kind of one of the more intimidating figures to the least intimidating once you take his like cloak and armor away.
Because he's sort of got like that Lobot blouse thing going.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But then he has like there's just no paint. It's like totally monochrome, and it's just there's like that. He has like a little flower on his belt buckle, and he just looks like a '70s nightmare. It's just
yeah. No, I completely agree.
Well, that actually ties into my first Skye coup, Steve.
Okay. All right.
This is about the figure.
Okay.
Sandy overcoat. Black nose is a telephone. Monochrome jumpsuit.
I like the nose. That's spot on.
If you look at his nose on the toy,
it
looks just like a rotary telephone.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then my comment about looking at the figure and looking at the character made me make an amazing realization, Steve. And that's going to lead in to this next Skye coup, which is in fact about the character. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
And actually it ties a little bit into the Zuckus poem as well, if you remember. Okay. Killing flea stands still. Black space Leatherface apron. Compound eyes of hate.
Hey, yeah, they are hateful eyes. That's a good call.
Dude, Forlom is space Leatherface.
Yeah.
Okay, so think about Leatherface, the bad guy from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
Picture him when he's got his apron on. And now picture Forlom. Tell me they are not equivalent.
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out in 1974. It came out well before.
Yeah.
So this actually, to me, turns Forlom into a much cooler, more menacing character.
I like it. I like it a lot, actually. That's good.
If he's like really actually this like mongoloid, backwater hick, like psycho killer. You know, and even if you look at his double gun that they gave him, it's ridiculous. Like much like Zuckus has the way too big gun,
right?
And Forlom has this sort of double-barreled thing.
It kind of looks like a hacksaw to me.
Kind of a hacksaw. You could pretty easily turn into a chainsaw.
Yeah.
So that's why I personally that's my new name for Forlom is a space Leatherface.
I like it. Good call.
So if you've ever thought of that before, feel free to email us chivecast@gmail.com. Or you can just send us messages on Facebook, and we'll like read them, like I did last week.
I have to say, I mean, I'd seen a few of those, but I had no idea there were that many that we had missed. So that's awesome that you went through and you did like a clean sweep of replies. So.
I did. We got all these awesome messages, but I just didn't know that they were there. I don't know why I don't get the notifications or something.
I feel like the notifications are kind of in a weird spot. Like you have to really kind of look for them. It's not like your regular messages for your personal account. It's kind of hard to find. So I'm glad that you found them.
Yeah. But yeah, that was pretty funny. Is there any script to flip on Forlom?
I mean, not so much on Forlom. I mean, in the Zuckus episode, we kind of mentioned that he's just mentioned as a bounty hunter. There's like no description at all.
Now, you did send me something interesting. The special offer 1982 consumer promotion catalog.
Yeah.
So, what is this thing?
Okay.
Because just so to describe what it is.
All right.
It's a picture of Forlom and a whole bunch of text around it.
Yeah.
And it says up above, advertised. But what is this?
So it's a page from the Kenner 1982 consumer products, or consumer, catalog.
So like the catalog that Kenner would send out to toy stores and distributors to advertise Star Wars toys to them.
So what's cool about it to me is that, it's advertising that, there's going to be this new figure that kids can mail away for, but it gives some interesting marketing information that I had never seen before. The first, which I think is just awesome, is it says spring of summer at '82. The Forlom offer is going to be printed on 4 million action figure blister cards, and then it's, with a 30-second commercial, which is that one we were talking about earlier. So I think
So 4 million 47 backs were made.
That's kind of what's implied here, which is cool.
That seems awfully high, Steve.
It does seem like a lot, right? But I don't know. It's
4 million 47 backs. That's pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. You'd think that there'd be more left over.
Yeah. It just kind of goes to show, by the time Jedi rolls around, which I'm sure we'll talk about, how much excess there was. They just kind of, it just shows the production kind of increasing as it went on. But yeah, this is like in between Empire and Jedi, so they're trying to kind of, I'm guessing, spark interest again, kind of in between movies. But yeah, I don't know. I just love the way this ad is designed. It's just really, appealing to the eye.
Yeah. It then goes on to say, consumer buys 5 action figures, receives new Forlom. It describes it as a fierce bounty hunter. So it's pretty similar to the script.
Yeah.
That's just. They don't call him Space Leatherface.
No.
Which, by the way, Jared or any other Photoshop users, please get to Space Leatherface, would you?
That'd be an awesome Halloween costume. And
Sounds
probably
horrifying.
it was completely horrifying. Yeah, but I was just browsing on the archive and I noticed that. I'm like, oh, I don't think we've really pulled something from one of those kind of, retailer catalogs and really looked at it in detail before. So.
Yeah, that's a thing of beauty. 4 million.
Yeah.
So that means if you have a carded figure, it's not even 1 in a million. It's 1 in 4 million. It was funny. I did something else new this month, Steve. I actually started emailing people like questions about Forlom.
Yeah.
Just figuring, hey, I'd get some information.
Right.
And so actually, I asked around. I asked about Grief. And he has a lot of information.
Yeah, he sent some great stuff for us.
That dude is a fountain of information. I asked if there's any complete 47 back sets, and he said there's only one 47 back Zuckuss that's ever popped up. So,
right. Yeah, I think that was the one we'd mentioned on that episode, right? Yeah.
Oh, had we? I don't even remember, Steve.
It's 2 episodes ago. You're clear. You don't have to remember.
Yes, I don't have to remember anything. So that's pretty amazing that out of the 4 million 47 backs,
right,
there's not one complete set out there.
Yeah.
And now, for LOM FACTS, Forlom Facts.
It's kind of like playing along the same things with the Zuckuss carded figures. There's a lot of weirdness about them, if that I don't know if I just found a lot of interesting details that you just, I'd never thought about until you started asking these questions.
Yeah, there's a lot of horse hockey around Forlom.
Yeah.
And Zuckuss.
Yes.
Like the fact that they made 45 back carded samples.
Right.
And according to Will, about 5 of each exist.
Yeah.
So, like, what was the idea? Like, why were they making these? I would understand it if on the back there were pictures of them on there.
Right.
There weren't pictures of them.
Yeah.
So, why would they do that?
Right.
Forlom Fact! I asked some more questions to some European guys. Michael, how do you say his name? Golke?
Yeah, Golke, yeah.
Golke. Saying that you can get Forlom on a German 45 back. Mm-hmm. So, basically, it's like, to get an offerless Forlom, Empire Strikes Back is like really precious.
Yes.
So you can get one in German. He says you can get one on a Clipper 45 back and a Spanish 45 back.
Right.
Forlom Fact! According to Will, there's less than 10 carded 48A offerless in existence.
Right.
So basically, if you're trying to collect Forlom and you want an Empire card, basically 48C is all you're going to find.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Forlom Fact!
And did you see that weird, it was an offerless 47 back Forlom. So it has, on the back, it has the offer for the figure which is on the front, which is totally bizarre.
I hadn't even seen that. What kind of horse hockey is that?
Yeah, it's totally crazy. Okay, so I went back and did some digging, and there was some discussion about this particular one. It's on the archive. Back, at least when the entry was done, it was in Gus's collection. What's weird about it is that the consensus was kind of that these 47-back figures like this were the Australian ones, and on the back, the address for the mail-away was an address in Australia. But this particular one, on the back, it has, the regular, Minneapolis Kenner mailing address. And so it's just really strange that it doesn't have... It's just bizarre. I mean, and I don't think... And there was even some discussion with John Kellerman on Rebel Scum like 5 or 6 years ago, a while ago, saying that he thought that it was still from Australia. And I'm not really sure. I mean, I'd be curious to see if there's some kind of updated knowledge on this thing. But, it's totally weird.
Yeah, it really goes to this whole weirdness with Forlom and Zuckuss.
Yeah.
And even if you go to the whole idea that... I mean... Did somebody screw up? Like, was it really a mess up that Zuckuss is Zuckuss and Forlom is Forlom? Was that actually a mistake? Has that been confirmed?
Right.
Has that been confirmed by anybody?
I think it's pretty much confirmed in the sense that, like, on StarWars.com, they define them as such, but...
right, but, okay.
But,
so then... Yeah. And then the whole joke is that 4LOM stands for the fourth love of money.
Right.
But I don't remember where I got that.
So
where did I hear that? What's the origin of that?
This is the only definitive origin that I could find. On the old version of StarWars.com, in the data bank for each character or whatever, it's mentioned. It doesn't really say how it came about, but it kind of, the way I took it was that it was during the production of the movie that name came about. It wasn't Kenner. But yeah, it was referenced on StarWars.com a long time ago, and you use the Wayback Machine, you can pull it up and look at it. But that's the only bona fide. It's referenced in a lot of bizarre news, web articles or blogs and stuff. But there's no real, other than that old databank entry. I can't find it anywhere else.
Yeah, people love to say it. It's a cool story.
Right.
Yeah, this is just a world of mystery between these two lovers.
I forgot about that part. Yeah.
yeah, that's part of my poetry slam.
Yeah.
Which I think in general was well received.
Yeah.
I think the main idea that Forlom and Zuckuss are lovers.
Right.
That maybe Zuckuss is the only one who can actually see through the space serial killer.
Right.
He's able to see into those deep eyes.
Yes.
And with his cat anus mouth is able to kiss his telephone nose.
Oh, God.
And make sweet killing flea love all night long.
That is something.
Zuck us, let us zuck each other. So yeah, that's the sort of breakdown from Will Grief.
Yeah.
And he sent a picture that he put on Facebook of this just crazy run that he had.
Oh.
You saw that, right?
I didn't see it. I think he might have only sent it to you. This is his run?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's because he likes me more.
Yeah. That's understandable.
Yeah. So it's the 45 back, and then it's the 47 back with the weird 47 back with the sticker on the back but no offer on the front. Mm-hmm. Right? Like what you just said to me.
Right.
And then I acted like I didn't know what you were talking about. And it does say on there, offer valid in USA only.
Yeah.
And then a 48 back offerless.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's Will just kind of showing off.
Yeah.
Because that pretty much just puts you right in the realm of the Forlom collection.
Yeah. No, that's crazy. I don't know if you on the Spanish one, at least for the Jedi figure, his armor is a totally different color, which we don't talk about the variants all that much, but I just thought that was interesting.
Forlom fact. Well, I do think it's cool that there is a 48A and 48Cs are pretty typical.
Right.
But Steve, it's going to be hard for me to complete my run
I was going to say, yeah.
48Bs.
Didn't Will say he'd never come across one of those? So that's going to be tough. But you're doing well. I can see it's well underway now.
So for those of you that have listened for a long time, you will know that I have a fascination with the 48B card back, which is the Revenge of the Jedi offer. But before they actually printed it on the card back, they just put a sticker on the card back.
Right.
And they put a sticker on the front. And it's long been my theory that these are actually pretty rare and that it would be fun to try to put together a run of them. So I've bought 3 in the past month.
Oh, man. You're on fire.
And every time I take a picture of it and text it to Steve with the line "King" underneath it, because I'm the king of the 48Bs.
Yes.
And I've now posted on Facebook telling people to sell them to me, and I'm getting all getting all set up with it. So that's been pretty fun to get more into that.
Yeah. So where are you at now? Like, are you at 5?
I'm at 5.
Okay. All right.
Actually, Steve, let's make that 6. Later in the show, you're going to hear the first on-air purchase. Well, this is going to be the first while editing purchase, as I press buy it now on a black Bespin security guard revenge offer sent to me by Phidias Barrios. So he actually heard the call and he sent me a couple links to a couple 48Bs. So everybody do that, and I'm going to have my collection going. Just know that I'm kind of cheap about this, so if it's over a bunch of bucks, I probably won't buy it. Like, this is only $90, and it's in pretty rough shape, but still, it's a good enough deal for me. So, here goes. I'm going to buy it now. And I click buy it now for $89.99. Make sure the shipping isn't ridiculous. It's $8.99. There we go. Pay with PayPal. Confirm and pay. And boom. 6. I am the king of the 48Bs. My beaties. And I'll probably never get to 48, I guess, if Forlom doesn't exist.
Well, yeah.
I've also been buying comic books, Steve.
Oh, yeah? Like,
Isn't that weird?
Not Star Wars comics, just general comic books?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a sort of a side tangent, but this is, because I know some of our listeners also collect comics.
Yeah.
Comic book collectors and toy collectors are very different. This is what I've discovered. Because, you know, I'm fascinated, as you might imagine. I collect Chewbacca, so I love the character Gorilla Grodd from The Flash. Do you know about him, Steve?
Oh, yes, yeah. I think I know who you're talking about.
He's a murderous telepathic gorilla. Okay? And so, like, I'm just like, okay, cool, I'm going to put together a little run of Gorilla Grodd. And the thing is that, you know, what's most valuable about Gorilla Grodd is, you know, always it's the first appearance, right?
Yeah, right.
So that's what's worth the most. But, Steve, just in a month of looking, not only did I get the American version of the first appearance, which came out in 1959.
Okay.
I got this weird one from a shoe store.
What?
Where they take the cover off and put a generic cover that just says comic books and then the name of the shoe store on it.
Huh.
I saw this, and I jumped out of my seat and hit buy it now. I've been talking to comic book collectors all over the place. They're like, what? Yeah, no, it's missing its cover. I'm like, what? No, this isn't missing its cover. This is like the most Could you imagine, Steve, if there were Star Wars toys out there that just had, like, Nicholson shoes, like, stapled to the top of it and given away?
Right.
I mean, it would be worth 10 times as much.
I don't know about that. Maybe interesting. I mean, I guess I'm not a value expert when it comes to comics, but
well, all I'm saying is that I don't have a mint condition edition of the debut, so I'll never have the most valuable thing. Mm-hmm. But I do have probably a one of a kind version of that comic book.
Right. So wait, which store did yours come from?
Oh, I forget the name of it.
Okay.
It's some shoe store.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, until you had posted that, I don't think I wasn't even aware that was something that existed.
Well, no, and most comic book collectors don't either, because like it's just like that's all they care about is mint. I want it mint. I want it mint. I want it mint. Mm-hmm. And if it's not mint, they just don't care. I also got the German version of the comic, which came out 10 years later, called Blitzmann. Also, according to some people, Gorilla Grodd actually debuted in an Italian comic that was their version of Superman that came out 10 years before that, and that was called Nimbo Kid.
Wait, so 1949?
Maybe not. Maybe it's the early 50s.
Okay, all right.
But it's called Nimbo Kid, which means like nimbulous cloud kid. And it's called the Gorilla Journalist. And so I was just able to pick up all those things, and it's just really funny because I know comic book collectors will look at me like, what are you doing? You could have just bought a really high-quality version of that one comic. And I'm like, no way, I've got to run.
Wait, so hold on a second. So that earlier one, it was from Superman, or a Superman-like comic, you said?
No, okay.
I got mixed up.
It comes from 1958.
Right.
And Superman in Italy was called Nembo Kid.
Okay, got it.
And they even they would take some of the same stories, but they would actually painstakingly erase the S in his nameplate. And they would sometimes add other stories.
Okay.
So this is about this gorilla on a typewriter.
I was saying, like, when you say gorilla journalist, I'm like picturing him working at the Daily Planet or something, just as a gorilla.
Yes, you'll see the picture. You'll see immediately the fact that I was able to buy this for $30 is a sign that comic book collectors are crazy. This is the coolest thing. So anyway, I mean, hey, we talked about G.I. Joe for like 4.5 hours last month.
It's okay.
This is okay. I just think it's funny to think about the way toy collectors collect and comic book collectors collect. Yeah. Because to me, I have this killer run of Gorilla Grodd, and they would look at it as just like, well, why didn't you get one that's in better condition? Now, Steve, before we get to a nugget, before we get to Forlom and Baggies and stuff, Steve, I don't know why, but you picked the super weird unloved item. So I'll put in the unloved item drop here.
You don't hate, only the unloved hate. The unloved and the unnatural. The unloved and the unnatural.
Okay, now that we're back from the drop, Steve, what in the world is this weird thing that you've put as the unloved item?
All right, so this is the Star Wars Adventures of R2-D2 board game. So it's from the original Star Wars line, and I had kind of been vaguely aware of it before, but I'd never really looked at it until Amy put it up on a recent blog post about board games. And this thing is so strange. I mean, to me, it's almost weirder than that Yildiz game that we played at that old California meeting. Like, this is stranger to me for whatever reason.
So once again, go to the SWCA. Go to blog.theswca.com.
Right.
And find Amy Schoberg. I pronounced it properly. Find Amy Schoberg's awesome post on board games.
Yes.
And again, listen. Back in the old days with the archive, okay? I'm just going to go on a little tirade here. Back in the old days, you'd have these special features, and they'd be beautifully written, and they'd be really well made and laid out, and they would have this sense of permanence, and they would exist there forever. Now, we have a blog post that is beautifully made, beautifully put together. It just doesn't have that sense of permanence. But the stuff that Amy's writing here is just as good as anything that was written 10 or 15 years ago. It's just as good as the Baggie special that we're going to be talking about later in this very episode. So really, if you want to learn about stuff, you just have to stay on this blog, because people, with the exception of me, are putting great stuff up on this blog. So, tell me about the Adventures of R2-D2 board game.
So the first thing that I noticed about the box is that C-3PO is hilariously small and in the background of this of this image of R2-D2. It is clearly R2's game. Right, C-3PO is an afterthought.
Right, so if we can imagine it, and this will make Mike Ritter and other R2-D2 collectors happy. If you can imagine it, I will describe it with the theater of the mind. The way they did it was they put R2-D2 as though he were on Tatooine going over a dune.
Right.
And they put C-3PO 200 miles behind him going, "You'll be malfunctioning in a heartbeat, you scum bucket piece of..." Whatever it is that he said in the movie.
Exactly, yeah.
And you're totally right. Like, if there was a Chewbacca thing that had Han Solo, like, completely in the back, I would be all about it.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And so, I mean, just the description on the box, it says, follow R2-D2's adventures along a brightly colored path. Reading and counting not required for play. So
that's
that
my
kind of a
game.
Exactly. I mean, and Amy kind of goes into this. It's probably one of the simpler games you could ever play. But just the aesthetic, once you see the board itself, the font is so 1970s. It is amazing. And then, like the box advertises these bright colors, which, you're kind of used to for, the card backs behind the figures and stuff. But to see it like this, it's different. It's beautiful.
Yeah, the art really does deserve credit. Lucas himself said Star Wars is basically the story of R2-D2, right?
Right.
R2-D2 is your through line through the entire trilogy. And so here's this board game that's able to pick up on that narrative structure and just put it in a toy.
Yeah.
So it says Princess Leia programs R2-D2, R2-D2 and C-3PO escape. Luke buys R2-D2. The Force defies the Stormtroopers. Now that's interesting.
Yeah. That is interesting.
It's not Obi-Wan Kenobi who does. According to this game, it is the Force itself that defies the Stormtroopers. That must have been before I went to sleep and then it woke up again. Then prepares for battle, and then finally the hero, and it's a picture of the medal ceremony.
But R2-D2's front and center, like it is. That's great.
I mean, it doesn't even pluralize heroes. It just says the hero, R2-D2, only him. Yeah. This really is.
And doesn't C-3PO just look kind of annoyed and pissed off in that ceremony? But he's just like, he just looks really.
Yeah, he's just totally back there, just doing nothing, just it's really just a R2-D2 fanatic's perspective.
Yeah.
On the story. Yeah. That's really great.
Yeah, and it's awesome, and it looked great framed on a wall. But yeah, and I just thought that. We hadn't talked about the blog for a bit, and this happened to be. There's other great games in here too that she mentioned. So go check out the post, and seriously, like, keep an eye on that front page, because stuff comes and goes pretty quickly. So you really have to stay on it to catch everything.
Now it's pretty cool because when we were coming up with the idea of the blog, the god of the website, Gus Lopez, he was really worried that we just would have things sitting there stagnant and that we wouldn't have enough new content to come through, which is true, because if you ever go to a blog that's really stagnant, it's just no fun at all, right?
Right.
And I had to say, well, hey, listen, we're at least going to do a podcast every month. But, man, my podcast gets buried. It gets buried by your stuff about movies, and it gets buried by Amy's awesome stuff about board games, and when Ron writes up stuff. It is a totally vibrant thing. And
yeah.
I totally got Gus's fear, but it turns out to be completely unfounded. Oh, and by the way, Gus will be at European Celebration.
Yeah.
He's going to be representing us with the guys from the Star Wars Forum UK.
Yeah.
So that's pretty fun that we're going to have Gus hosting the podcast.
Yeah. Man, what do you think of the idea of recording a pre-recorded message?
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah,
Hi, I'm Skye Payne. Sorry I can't be there. I'm out with my space freaks. Anyway. Well, Amy also includes the Battle at Sarlacc's Pit game.
Yeah, that's another favorite of mine.
And it's the summer, Steve. So can I tell you a vintage Star Wars story?
Why not?
Can I channel my inner Tom Burgess and tell you a story about my childhood?
Yeah.
The game Battle at Sarlacc's Pit.
Right.
So my family has a house in Little Compton, Rhode Island, which is this really nice town. They've had it for a long time, and it's this really kind of ramshackle house that's really close to the ocean. So it's nice, but the house itself is kind of nasty and whatever. And there's like nothing to do there at night. So we got the Battle at Sarlacc's Pit game. And I have very specific memories of my family opening it up, looking at it, and then just saying, nope. This is too much. We're not going to do it. So we never set it up. We never played it. I remember looking at the cards, thinking how cool it was, but it was a complete and total failure. I have never played that game.
Wow. Well, that's got to change.
It does, because it looks like it's a fun game.
Yeah. No, it's yeah. I mean, I just like the kind of ingenious way that it's set up. I mean, it's with the box kind of, or, folding open, and it's like a 3D full on. It's almost like a play set, almost with figures and everything. It's not your conventional board game like Adventures of R2D2.
And back in those days, that's the only way you had a Sarlacc.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, okay. Well, we don't need to go into that more into depth. We'll just tell everyone, go check it out, blog.theswca.com, or just go on the front page of the SWCA.com and read it up. Well, Steve, I was going to throw it to the Nugget, Nugget from the archive. But we've actually discussed already most of what we would talk about in the Nugget from the archive with Forlon.
It's true.
I mean, we've talked about the 45 back and the 47 back and all the weird horse hawkery that goes on with Forlon.
Yeah.
So instead, Steve, I want to do a combination vocab and Nugget.
Okay.
Because there's actually a feature, an amazing feature, that's just sitting right there in the archive, and has sat there for probably longer than, well, definitely longer than you've been alive, Steve. but definitely almost 10, 15 years old. And it is the Collector's Guide to Kenner Baggies.
Yeah.
And we are going to actually give a call to Bill Wills, who's one of the authors of this guide. And he's going to be sort of supplemented, hopefully, with Fratastic Pete. And we're going to learn all about Kenner Baggies, because that's the vintage vocab and that's the Nugget. What actually is a Baggies?
My baggies!
'Tis a nugget from the archive. Hardcopy, Sophora, Frosty, MIB, MJ, CMYKUC. It's vintage.
My baggies!
All right, Steve. Well, after much delay, we have...
Thanks, Pete.
Yeah, we have Bill Wills and Pete Fitzke here, Fratastic Pete. Pete, are you just off of an airplane?
I am just off of an airplane. I just got in from LAX literally 20 minutes ago.
Wow. So, although we had to wait for him, you do have to appreciate the sheer rapidity with which he got home and made sure that he's on the show. Are you guys ready to talk about baggies?
Absolutely.
Well, let's see. So one thing that I think is really cool is that if you look up, because I was trying to think, how could we do a good introduction of Bill Wills and Fratastic Pete? And obviously our space freaks know Fratastic Pete because they listen to the Market Watch every month. But if you look up Bill Wills and Star Wars, do you know what's the first thing that comes up, Steve?
No, what is it?
It is Fratastic Pete's interview with Bill Wills.
That makes sense.
So I was going to do an introduction and say Bill, tell us about you, tell us who you are. But I think people should just go and read Pete's awesome interview.
That sounds good.
Digested. It was one of the first ones we ever did, so I was happy that Bill volunteered. I got 2 Ohio groups in a row. I had Bill on one, and then I had the One Cools on the next one.
Yeah, and it's really cool because, I mean, at least, I don't know about you, Steve, but I feel like Bill is a name. I've heard of Bill Wills from ever since I started collecting, and I've seen his name everywhere. But he's somewhat mysterious, wouldn't you agree?
Maybe slightly mysterious.
I keep a low profile.
Yeah, do you think that you're mysterious, Bill?
My wife thinks I'm mysterious. My kids probably do too, but no, I'm a pretty regular guy, to be honest with you. I just I don't do as much social media stuff as I probably should. I don't have the time.
Yeah, I mean, I just had to throw myself into it, and sort of override all of my resistance. And I'm now working on trying to become a king of Facebook, just like I'm the king of the 48Bs. But
yeah, man, I just don't have it in me. I get on and I lurk every now and then, and I do try to promote the Cantina collectible stuff, that Tracy and I do. But for the most part, man, I just don't have the time. I wish I had more. So.
Okay, well then, why don't you do a quick pitch for Cantina collectibles then?
Well, Cantina collectibles started in, I think it was 98 or 99, and I had just did some deal with the next Kenner guy, and I had a bunch of stuff, and I knew I wasn't going to keep it all, and this was back in the toy shop days. And I thought, what would be really cool is to do a phone auction. Now, I don't know why I thought that was cool, but I did. So Tracy, he designed a logo. He came up with a logo for Cantina. Actually, I think he came up with a name too. And I ran this auction in Toy Shop, and so that's kind of how Cantina Collectibles got started. It was really just meant to be a one-off kind of thing. And you guys know how it is. The longer you collect and the more collections you turn up, and you keep a few things that you want, or maybe a couple of things to trade down the road, and then you sell the rest. I mean, that's how if you're not independently wealthy, which unfortunately I'm not. That's the way you build collections. That's the way most of the old school guys built their collections. And so Cantina Collectibles kind of just turned into a way for me to move the extra stuff that I had that I wasn't interested in keeping. And so we've done some celebrations, and we do some local shows here and there. I mean, I'm not planning to quit my day job to become a dealer or anything like that. But it's helpful to kind of have a brand or a name out there to to buy and sell things with. So that's kind of the origins of that. And we got on Facebook, I think, about a year ago, so we were probably 3 or 4 years late to the party there. But it's going pretty well. Instagram, same thing. We started Instagram a few months ago, and so it's good. It's good. So.
Awesome. Well, I think if you read Pete's article, it really focuses on your Luke Jedi, and I think that we might end up talking about Luke Jedi in a couple months from now. So we don't really want to jump the gun on that, because we're getting into Jedi figures soon. But really what we wanted to do was talk about baggies. Now, our first question is, Bill.
Yes.
Have they always been called baggies? Did somebody come up with the term baggies?
That's a good question. I think I started collecting baggies in like 98, 99, and I mean, at that time, literally nobody cared. I mean, there was like me and maybe 2 other guys that collected them, and one of them was Todd DiMartino, and that's honestly how I met Todd. We were we kept running in the same circles for the baggy things because like I said, nobody really cared. I got into them just because I didn't really view the baggie itself as a collectible. I looked at it as because I hate repros. I've always hated reproduction stuff, and I was always really condition sensitive. So the baggie kind of kills 2 birds with 1 stone. You generally get a really nice, clean figure, and you don't have to worry about reproduction stuff. And that's really why I started collecting baggies. I didn't care about. At the time, I couldn't have told you the different baggie styles that existed or figure baggie combos. I had no idea. I just wanted one of every figure. I didn't care what bag it was in. I didn't care if it was heat sealed or tape sealed. I just wanted to be confident that it was, had never been opened. And that was really it. So as far as whether we called them baggies or baggies, I think for the longest time I called them Kenner bags. And then at some point, it switched to baggies, and I don't know who's responsible for that. But
all right, well, awesome. So it really could be like Troopies. This is good. So then, I mean, we're sort of putting this in the context of the nugget from the archive, being the collector's guide to baggies, which is the archive feature. Do you remember when you wrote this feature?
I had a feeling you were going to ask me, and I really can't. I don't remember. I think it's been, well, it was well before the Chinese democracy of Star Wars books got started, which is Todd's Saga Museum collection. So that's been ongoing now and I love Todd. I'm sure he's going to listen to this. I love you, Todd. So, but that was about 6 years ago, I think, 6.5 years. And then we probably wrote the feature a good 2 or 3 years before that. So it's probably going on 8-9 years, roughly.
Okay. Now, Pete, you're somebody who you collect baggies pretty actively, right?
So I collect the multi-packs pretty actively, and that's kind of how I've gotten into baggies. I actually don't collect any baggies outside of the mailer stuff. So whereas Bill and Todd were really focused on doing baggies by themselves, and even Todd was kind of the king of the multi-packs, I've really focused on single mailers and then mailer multi-packs.
Okay, so you see, Steve, this is my problem. I thought that all baggie collectors were multi-pack collectors and vice versa.
It's multifaceted, Skye.
Okay.
There's a lot of nuances here we're going to jump into.
So here's one of the big questions. What baggies didn't come in mailers?
Of all the first 79 figures, I believe that most of them are found in a one or more multi-packs. The only one that I know for sure was not is Forlom.
Forlom fact.
Forlom is not found in to the best of my knowledge, I don't believe Forlom exists in any multi-pack. And obviously Power of the Force as well. Power of the Force droids, Ewoks, none of those. But as far as rarity, I would say, there's a bunch that are rare. This is kind of a separate topic. I guess we can discuss, a little bit later. But probably one of the toughest is the turtleneck Leia Bespin.
Right.
That piece is incredibly rare, and that piece was in one multi-pack. I believe it was like a 1982 4-pack. And that figure comes in just I think it's the ESBA baggie. It's like a heat-sealed, I think it's got the Kenner logo. It's in like a horizontal direction. It's super, super tough. So.
Okay, so because I guess what I'm trying to understand, Steve, tell me if you're as dumb as I am here. So it seems to me that most baggies that exist were originally inside of mailers. Does that sound right, Steve?
Yeah, in terms of the characters, yeah, but I guess there were other ways in terms of getting baggy figures, like with the play sets, and then some of these other ones. But the play sets is what I was thinking of, or the special offer pack-ins, like the Star Wars vehicles and stuff that had the that kind of department store special where they would pack stuff in. But yeah,
right, that's true.
Okay.
Yeah, by far, I would say, probably, 90%. Of course, I don't have any statistics to back this up, but just based on, what we've seen, probably 90% of the baggies that are in the, hobby today come from multi-packs.
Okay.
That's by far, I think, multi-packs and like mail-away pieces.
Right. The special offers, yeah.
Right. Literally the Emperor, mail-away Emperors, Forloms, Boss, those kinds of things.
Right.
And then, of course, you've got the pack-ins for the, the play sets and the special offers and those kinds of things. And then you do have, there have been a handful of, solid case packs of certain figures like Luke Jedi and Jabba, and there's been one or two others that have turned up.
Okay,
but,
so why did those exist? Like the removable MC-3PO, there's like hundreds and hundreds of those, right? So
there are literally tens of thousands of that figure. Yeah.
Why?
Well, I'll be honest. I would love to tell you definitively that I know why. I suspect that figure was intended for some sort of a promotion or some sort of a pack-in. I don't know if that figure came in the Young Jedi kit or not. I know, obviously, I think the solid pack of Jedi Lukes that turned up, my guess is that was probably used at the fulfillment center for the Young Jedi kits. But I don't know for sure. Obviously, I don't think those things were ever intended to be sold at retail. I don't think, and there have been there have been loose bagged figures turn up. I know there's some turned up at like Sears Surplus, long time ago. My guess is that stuff was probably returns, people that had returned multi-packs, or Sears just had surplus of certain multi-packs, and they just busted them open and threw them out at their clearance centers. But clearly, Kenner never intended for baggy figures to be sold individually like that. So,
right, because it's awfully ugly.
It's awfully ugly, exactly.
I mean, no,
but as far as like,
Steve, I just insulted our guests.
Well, it's no doubt. I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence. It's some of the crappiest figures that turn up in quantities. So
right.
That to me, I don't think it's a coincidence. That's clear to me that those were some sort of overstocked figures, and Kenner probably, who knows what they did with them, So.
All right. Well, Steve, I wrote out all these questions, and then I'm not actually asking the questions in order. Have you noticed
right.
that?
You got me all messed up, man.
Okay. So I guess one of the main questions is I imagine that the feature on the archive is more or less up to date. On what you have listed, you have 25 different kinds of baggies, of Kenner U.S. baggies. Is that still accurate?
Right.
Is there still 25?
I believe there is actually 24. There's an edit that we need to make. Just haven't gotten around to doing it. The origin of this of the content for this feature was Todd. I mean, Todd's a crazy man. I mean, he's a lunatic. I mean, he has multiples of everything. I mean, at one point, obviously, if you guys remember back to, what was it, Celebration 3, and he had the next, with Tom Derby, they had, everything from Kenner from 77, to 86 or whatever. They had one example of everything. Well, that was Todd's collection, basically, transported to Indianapolis. But, Todd's been collecting multi-packs and bag figures forever. I mean, Todd's really a wealth of knowledge when it comes to this subject. But the thing that allowed us to kind of put this thing together with a degree of accuracy was Todd had all these unopened multi-packs that at some point he opened. And so we literally, I think at the time that we put the feature together, he had almost 85 or 90 multi-packs. So it really enabled us to really be able to look at brand new contents, untampered with, and be able to see exactly what came in which multi-pack and what baggie they came in and all that kind of thing. But
wow,
so
Pete, that's gotta hurt Pete, huh?
Yeah.
Just cracking them open.
It's one of those tough ones, man, and it gets into a delicate subject. I don't even know if we want to breach here, which is it ethical to open a multi-pack? Because to be quite honest, what is a multi-pack without getting to see the figures? And that could take us into another half-hour dialogue. Maybe you don't want to go on, but I think if they didn't do that, the entire multi-pack collecting market may not have been what it was, because that's where a lot of the really rare ones came from. And people are like, wow, these actually look kind of cool. When they're out of the package, we're going to build displays for them or whatever else. But yeah, it's an interesting dichotomy that you're dealing with there.
Wow. Okay,
yeah,
that sounds like a debate someday. Yes, it does, Skye. In fact, why don't we urge the audience to weigh in if it is ethical or not to destroy a multi-pack to get the baggies. Respond on Facebook or chivecast@gmail.com or on the Rebel Scum forum.
Yes.
At the time that Todd was, purchasing a lot of these multi-packs too, you got to remember, probably the most expensive multi-pack at the time would have been still probably one of the line art multi-packs, Pete. I'm assuming that those are still insanely rare even now. But 10 years ago, nobody paid more than, a few $100s for a multi-pack. They just weren't that expensive. It probably was less of an issue to open things up because they just, they just weren't viewed as the commodity that they are now. So,
Okay, so you guys tore open all these. You just ripped open all of these multi-packs and started looking at the baggies. And through this, you were able to determine the 24, 25 different kinds. Now, if I look at it on the archive here, the differences between them seem to be the text that's on them, right? So you can say like either Kenner or Made in Hong Kong or General Mills or whatever. And then a seal. So the two different kinds are heat and tape. So if it's heat sealed, it's like pressed together, and if it's taped, then it's taped over.
Right.
Now, it says type is crisp. What does that mean?
It just means the type of the plastic. Some of the Kenner baggies, the plastic is really like a crisp. I don't want to use the word. It's just a firm plastic. If it's soft, it's just like it sounds. It's very, just very soft plastic. You can tell the difference. I mean, if you've ever handled them, you know exactly what the difference is.
And now, the Chivecast is going to make baggy history. Bill Wills is going to announce a change to the baggy matrix on the Star Wars Collector's Archive. There's one more category than should be there. We are going to witness the excising of the ROTJ Bees. More details to come, Space Freaks.
But I do want to say there's one type on here that we have decided to remove, and that's the Return of the Jedi B. And I guess because I actually was talking to Todd about this, and he had one or two examples in his collection, and they were loose examples. They didn't come from a multi-pack. They came from another. I don't remember who the person was, but Todd picked this up from somebody else, another collector, and he since determined that he feels like, because he's never found another one, and apparently he has reason to kind of question the character of the person he got it from. So he feels like that the Jedi B variant is no longer valid, and I believe this has been reflected at AFA. So I think if they grade any Jedi baggie, I think everything has been bumped back one. So like Return of the Jedi B or C is now Return of the Jedi B, if that makes sense.
And everything that AFA does is just based on this guide, right?
Pretty much.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of it. I mean, it's become almost a point of debate because, tons of respect for Todd too, tons of respect for Bill. They did something that nobody else was doing at the time, but.
And now, Pete is going to start talking about something that I have no idea what he's talking about until I ask him a whole bunch of questions for him to explain it. So get ready to hear about the mystery of the almost unknown Spiegel multi-pack. Spiegel?
Now Palatoy baggies are coming into play, and people question things like that. And then you tell me if I'm wrong, Bill, but I think one of the pieces too that Todd was missing, I don't know if he ever actually had, was the Spiegel pack from Return of the Jedi. Do you know if he ever actually owned one of those?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I can ask him.
Yeah, you should, because it's funny. I found one not too long ago, actually. I had to make a big trade to actually get it. And it's a pretty unique pack. It actually says Spiegel on the back of the box, whereas all the other Return of the Jedi packs will just say, Villains or 4-pack or Ewoks or whatever it is. And after I purchased it, Jeff Jacobs and I were talking. He made a comment to the point of, I don't know if AFA going to grade it because I don't think that they have anything to compare it to. Nobody knew if there were that many other examples out there. So.
Okay, so a Spiegel pack is a German thing?
No, that's actually, so Spiegel was a catalog here in the United States in the 70s and 80s. I actually think they're still around. So the multi-packs obviously all went out they were catalog at the end of the day. They were almost all coming out of Sears catalogs, JCPenney catalogs, and Spiegel was one of those. And a few of the packs only came out for certain catalogs. So, for example, Montgomery Ward had the 3 Return of the Jedi ones where it just has like a number on the front of the box. It doesn't actually have a little round label. And in Spiegel's case, they had this 1/7 pack that was exclusive to them. And instead of actually calling out the contents of the header of or a theme for the pack, it was just called the Spiegel pack.
Huh. And so you have the only known one?
I don't know if it's the only known one. When I got it, I got a lot of praise from a lot of other collectors that they've never seen it. Andy Raymond, who's been a longtime collector, gave me a shout out for it and everything because he's never been able to find one either. There's been pictures of him out there. It's in the Kellerman Matrix. But it just was interesting because, Jeff and I were both at the show where I bought it at, and he's just very much into these days. He's got nearly the whole run completed across all 3 movies. I think he's got a couple different spots where he's trying to fill in. But he was very honest with me. He's like, I don't know if Chad and the guys, if they are going to grade that because I honestly don't know if there's another one that they can compare it to.
Hey, Pete, was that one sealed or was that open?
That was an open one. So it came from Frank up at Final Frontier.
Just to clarify, he's referring to Final Frontier Toys, which, if you don't know, is one of the better, more reliable sources of vintage Star Wars toys. They don't pay us to advertise, but I like that guy. So it was open. So what kind of... So then, if you have a super interesting multi-pack like that, and it's open, then you'd open it up and look and see what kind of baggies are in it? Is that the kind of thing you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you open it up, you check all the baggies, because one of the biggest things, and Bill can kind of support this too, is people will try and take baggies from less or from more common packs and try and put them in other packs. Or they'll try and take like one of these C-3POs that's like super common and like sell them into a pack that has a C-3PO, but it's actually not the same baggie type that they found in there. So it's really tough. That's where this matrix is so helpful, is because it allows you to match up, okay, this baggie actually was from this time period, so we believe it does belong with that. When you look at like Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, it was a little easier because almost all the baggies that came in the boxes were identical. Like the 15 packs, I think they were all Empire Strikes Back B's or H's or something. But when you get to Jedi, it was a mixed match. And even from set to set, it wasn't consistent. So that's where it gets to be a little bit of minutia between those things as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's just a ton of minutia going on here.
Yeah, it really is. It gets kind of crazy. But again, to your point, you had asked one of the questions on your email you sent me about how to identify fakes. And that's a perfect example. If somebody's trying to pass off an Empire or well, I shouldn't say Empire, but a Jedi character in like a Star Wars A bag, which nobody probably be dumb enough to do that, but that's a really tough bag. But still, immediately there's a problem, And there's certain figures that don't come in certain bags, so if it turns up in something that it's not known to come in, you're dealing with a reseal at that point.
Well, that was sort of one of my other questions, was thinking about the sheer number of... Okay, so if... let's take, for example, some random character. Oh, I don't know, Chewbacca. And let's imagine... So then, there's not 25 different kinds of Chewbacca bags, right? So is there also a matrix of every single kind of bag that exists? Is that what that guy in England was doing, where it was like every single known bag of every single character is laid out there? Or like, how would I know? If I wanted it to be my goal to get every Chewbacca baggie, first of all, how would I know? And second of all, how would I do it?
Yeah. That's a tough one. There is no matrix that I'm aware of that exists out in the public that would show you every possible figure and baggie combination. I know that that's something that Todd has been actively working on. I'm not sure, how far along he is. I'm guessing he's made pretty good progress with it. But for example, like I know you had given us 3 figures: Forlom, B-wing pilot, and Chewbacca. So
just as an example, to imagine how would you try to be a completist baggie collector with those 3?
Yeah, so Forlom, pretty simple. I believe he just comes in the ESBD baggie. So he doesn't appear in any multi-packs, and he's basically the only baggie style you're going to find him in is the baggie from the mail away, the boxed mail away.
Right.
That's it. So Forlom's pretty simple. Now, B-Wing Pilot is not much more difficult. He basically turned up in 4 bags. Mostly you see him in the Return of the Jedi C and F. B-Wing Pilot is one of those that has turned up in massive quantities for whatever reason.
Isn't that one of the ones? Oh, that's okay. Isn't that one of the ones that like a full case showed up, or is that? I can't remember if that's one of those. I know it was one of those ones that's in, as you said, yeah, the lamest get the get the biggest numbers.
Man.
But
if you ever pick up some baggy figures from a Kenner, ex-Kenner person, there's always B-Wing Pilots.
Oh yeah.
There's it's just the way it is.
So that brings up a couple questions. So you also have a rarity category, right? Where you basically go 1 through 4. So 1 is not rare and 4 is rare. So if you list B-Wing Pilot as rare, but he's on 3 different baggies, is it possible that there's actually a category for B-Wing Pilot? Like there's only 2, ROTJC known?
Right. Yeah. In the case of the B-Wing Pilot, he comes in 4 bags. None of them are particularly rare. Well, he comes in 2 Empire-style baggies. Those are probably a little bit more tough than the 2 Jedis, which seem to be more common. But yes, the thing is the idea behind the collector's guide was not to identify rarity in terms of the figure baggie combinations. It was really just it was not so granular. It was just which figure's tough to find,
Right.
But absolutely, there are certain figure and baggie combinations that are just absolutely impossible to find. I guess, a couple examples would be, like, for example, the Star Wars A baggie, which is the tape-sealed, very first baggie style, and it's got the white Made in Hong Kong lettering horizontally across the bag. Basically, the only figures that have turned up in that baggy style are the double telescoping Luke, which obviously would have been found in the early bird kit.
Early bird, right?
Right. But then you have the Empire Strikes Back display stand, right? The really rare rose box version of the Star Wars display stand.
Right.
Well, that figure came with 5 figures. It comes with Lando, IG-88. Hoth Stormtrooper, Luke Bespin. Bespin. Right. Well, all those figures come in a Star Wars A baggie. So they are incredibly rare.
Right, because that piece is really rare.
Exactly. That piece is really rare. And so if you're a baggie completist and you're looking for, or maybe you're just a focus collector and one of those figures is in your focus, FX7, yes, you got Luke Bespin, FX7, Lando, Leia Bespin, and Hoth Storm. And when those turn up, Pete, I don't know if you've seen any of those sell recently. I know historically they've sold for between $500 and $700 a piece. So they're very
and that was kind of a similar case to like the bounty hunters that were packed with the Vader case, right? I remember CJ. With that big find out here last October, that was what he was the most excited about. And I honestly, I didn't know anything about it at the time. But that sounds like a similar situation where that particular figure and that particular bag was only available in this one specific.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
The special offer Vader case that has the bounty hunters, what is it?
Right.
Bosk, IG-88, and Fett. Right.
Yeah.
Those figures come in that specific baggie style, the ESB. Baggie. Nothing else comes in those baggies.
Okay.
Again, same thing. When those turn up for sale, they're ridiculously expensive.
Mm-hmm.
There's no shortage of guys looking for the Fett in that baggie.
Yeah, I bet.
Well, that's Steve, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because the whole idea, Pete and Bill's, is for us to somehow find baggies cooler than we did before. So I find that pretty cool that there's like certain ones that are really rare because they're only available. What I didn't understand, and Pete, this goes back to your point, is that every baggie is essentially a tragedy.
Yeah.
That every baggie is an opened multi-pack, and that's, I mean, almost everyone. To me, that's hard, except for, Bill, you're saying that former employees also had a lot of baggies.
Yeah, I mean, I suspect some of those folks, I'm guessing that bag figures were sold at the Kenner store. So
Right, I was going to ask about that, yeah.
Yeah. And they've turned up another. I know Kenner was pretty. It was pretty well known fact that they donated a lot of their overstock to like local hospitals and even some of the local, like Goodwills and Salvation Armies. I mean, there's all kinds of stories of, bag figures and blue snaggletooths. And if you think about it, one of the most desirable figures in a bag is the blue snaggletooth, but it is by no means rare. Tons and tons and tons of those, well, that might be an exaggeration, but a lot of those mailer boxes have turned up, and they're always pristine. I mean, Pete, you know what I mean? I mean, there's been several of those turn up.
Oh, absolutely. And lately the prices on that have just gotten to be insane. I mean, they're selling for, you can get that graded for by AFA for $75, $100, whatever the fee is, because it's pretty low because it's 2 figures. And they're selling for between $1,500 and $1,800 consistently.
Yep.
On eBay right now.
But
it's crazy.
It is crazy, but and again, the weird thing is every time they turn up, they're almost always pristine. A lot of times they're sealed. There's never a price tag or anything like that on those boxes. And it's like, well, clearly it seems like there's more of those 2-packs that exist than were used in the actual Cantina playset. Well, why is that? So my guess is at some point some of those were, possibly donated or who knows, but they've turned up in quantities. So,
yeah. Wow. So, I mean, Bill, from your perspective though, I mean, didn't they have the Greedo and Snaggletooth as a 2-pack in one of the Sears catalogs? I thought like the first Sears catalog, I'm just paging through Kellerman's Matrix actually on some of this stuff.
Yes, they do. They are featured in the Christmas catalog. They are.
Yeah, so I mean, that could be another piece of it too. Is that some of these were originally sold in 2-packs and early 3-packs, not early 3-packs, but there were a lot of more 2-packs out of the get-go with the original Star Wars line than anything that moved forward. So. Yeah.
Now, one thing a lot of people don't know is there's actually a variation of the 2-pack that contains a red snaggletooth. And so the standard 2-pack that has the blue snaggletooth has black text on the front. Mm-hmm. But if you ever find one of those boxes, the same everything else is identical, but the text on the front is red. There's a red snaggletooth inside.
Huh. Is that a lot more rare?
Actually, it's pretty tough.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'd say it's funny because it doesn't demand as often the same amount as the blue snaggletooth, but when they come up, they're gone. I mean, the last couple I've seen have been on Facebook, and they're gone within 20 minutes. And people will pay $1,500, $1,600 for them easy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So where would this 2-pack with the red or blue snaggletooth come? It would go either in the Sears Cantina playset or just in the Sears catalog.
Yeah, I'm not clear. I guess I have no reason to think that the blue snaggletooth 2-pack wasn't sold through Sears. I know they show it in the catalog, but I can't remember. Pete, do you remember? Does it actually show blue snaggletooth in the catalog, or does it show a red snaggletooth?
Okay, Skye here. I can actually answer this question. Does the Sears catalog, the one which sells for $3.99, a Greedo and Snaggletooth 2-pack, catalog number 49C59412, of weight 2 ounces, does this catalog show the blue snaggletooth or the red snaggletooth? Okay, everybody, think about the answer. Do you know what the answer is? Yes, it does. It shows both. It shows the blue snaggletooth in the Cantina playset, but then in the little box where it has the 2-pack, it shows the red snaggletooth.
So I don't know what kind of determination you can draw from that, except that you see both of them in the same catalog, a fact which I did not know. Now, if you have the enhanced version of the podcast, you're seeing me put this image all over the place. If not, Steve will put it in the show notes. But it's really worth looking at this page with the hyper rare Cantina playset. And what's cool is that Greedo in the playset is like waving. And then Greedo and the little red Snaggletooth look like they're kind of disco dancing in the 2-pack shot. It's actually quite funny. So that's your answer. For the 2-pack, it shows the red. For the Cantina playset, it shows the blue. But they are both featured at the same time.
I can't remember what it showed. I'm just looking at the Matrix right now from Kellerman, and both the red Snaggletooth and the blue Snaggletooth had the same box number. So all the multi-packs had a code on them. It was 2 digits a dash and then 5 digits. And it was the same number for either the red or the blue. And I think the only thing that literally distinguished them was the color of the writing on the box was red for the red Snaggletooth, because it was, caught down the line. Because a lot of these, I think, were produced in sequence with the first 12 being released. And that's how the whole blue Snaggletooth Creature Cantina Adventure set came out and all that stuff.
Yeah. And I see, here's something funny, Steve. I've looked through Kellerman hundreds of times, and when he keeps referring to the Kellerman Matrix, I'm like, what? Which color? Is he talking about the carded figure or the proof one? So there's a multi-pack Matrix in there as well?
Yep, page 147 to 149.
Man, it is hilarious how big my blind spot is when it comes to this whole area of collecting.
Well, it's weird, man, because every time I page through to find it, I end up having to go page by page, because it's literally like I skip over the entire section. It's really weird. It's at the back of the multi-pack section. But John did a really nice job on this, and to be honest, I think that out of all the matrices that he did, this could have been the most difficult to put together, because it covers all of the different years. It has pictures that you don't find anywhere else. Like, for example, it has a picture on page 145 of the Power of the Fours 7-pack that was originally supposed to come out. The 8-pack that was originally supposed to come out that never actually even made it to market. And so, yeah, if you ever get a chance to check through it, you will learn a lot about all the different box styles, baggy type. Not so much baggy types, I guess, but all the different variations that came out. And there were 70-plus multi-packs that came out over the years.
And I suspect that John probably based a lot of that off of the archive feature that I think Ron did, if I'm not mistaken. Ron is probably the first guy to ever attempt to kind of categorize and log some of the multi-packs that are out there. He does have, if I'm not mistaken, I think that feature does have some of the unproduced multi-packs that were actually featured in the retailers' catalogs, but they actually were never for sale. Okay. So I think that's why there's like a Droids multi-pack, and but that obviously those were never made. So.
Oh, Steve. I mean, the good news is they've actually they've got to most of the questions. I mean, One thing that always interests me the most is the sort of not rare but valuable, and it seems like the blue Snaggletooth kind of fits that. Right. The sort of rare but maybe not as valuable, maybe that's like the Power Droid. Maybe. I think maybe one of the biggest questions I have when I think about baggies, I really think about AFA. Mm-hmm. So so Bill, you're probably more in the old school of collecting as opposed to Fratastic Pete, who's currently at Kappa Lambda Alpha and doing keg stands as we discussed. So what's been your perspective on how AFA has changed baggie collecting?
I'll be honest. I'm sure that they have affected baggie collecting to a degree. I know there's going to be some guys say that they've taken some things out of circulation with the whole U grading thing, and that's probably true. I'm sure that there have been some bag figures that have been lost to the U grading process. Mm-hmm. I don't know that the baggie market has changed so much as a direct result of AFA or just all the new information that's out there. I mean, let's face it. I mean, the more people know about a certain niche, and the more that they can make better informed decisions about what's actually out there for them to collect, and the more more people that start to get into that niche of the hobby and they start talking, and now you've got Facebook and everything else. It just lends itself to kind of these kinds of markets like baggies just exploding. And I think the other thing with baggies too is everything else got so expensive. I mean, if you think about it, sealed stuff started to get outrageous. High grade carded stuff is, for a lot of people, it's just out of their budget. So I think it always tends to drive people to other areas that are a little more affordable. So I think that's in my opinion, that's when we really started seeing baggies start to pick up. Is when the high end stuff really started getting ridiculous.
Now, is that your perspective too, Pete? If you just put down the beer bong long enough to answer.
Hey, I'm taking it easy. I'm drinking high C for you guys tonight. So. And it's pi lambda alpha delta. Don't forget the pi in there.
Oh, sorry.
That's part. Anyway, so I totally would agree with Bill. I think that everybody in every segment has seen U grading affected a little bit, but I think that AFA in general has done more good than harm when it comes to baggies and multi-packs. And here's kind of why. One, they've given some type of way to protect the baggies. A lot of, there wasn't a sliding bottom case that you could put these in before. They do a nice job displaying the individual pieces. And I think that that's very helpful. And especially when you get into a catalog mailer, very, very, very tough to display one of those unless you have AFA build you a case for them. And that's where, you look at those and they transform literally from here's a box and a pile of plastic, in just aesthetically speaking, they do a great job cascading it across an acrylic case. Get to see all the figures in all of their glory. So I think that it's actually been really good in that respect. I think that out of all the segments that have been affected by U grading, baggies have probably been affected less than, let's say, mid-ton card figures have.
Yeah, I was thinking about that when I remember looking at multi-packs before and just thinking, how could you possibly get excited by a blank box?
Right. Yeah.
But then when I think about AFA and thinking about the fact that they actually do care about the seal, and then so knowing that if you can show the box next to the baggy figures, I do think those display nice. And I think it is one of the rare cases where I'm sort of pro AFA, at least as far as that goes, where I like the idea that there's some kind of certification that they're the ones opening up the box. And as silly as that is, that it's in my head, it does still seem to be more of a maintained unit as a multi-pack, and not so much just like Todd and Bill just ripping them open willy-nilly.
Yeah, no. And
I didn't do that. Just to be clear, that was all Todd. He gets all the blame.
You didn't throw DiMartino under the bus. He's not here to defend
That's
it,
right.
So.
He's not here. He can't do anything about it. So.
Yeah, but a lot of these too, they were found open too. A lot of mine that I've seen over the years. What's in my collection? I can think of a couple very common Jedi ones that I've had them open, like a 7-pack villains, a 7-pack heroes, which are probably the most common ones. But finding any of the others sealed, I think that. There is, to an extent, there is a little bit of a gasp factor there on some of these. So let's go to another question you guys kind of had, which is, what's the rarest piece out there? What are the most desirables? Maybe not so much the baggies, but what are the most desirables in kind of the multi-pack world? And Todd, I think you'd agree with me. The line arts are still
Todd. I didn't know Todd was here.
I'm sorry, Todd.
Are you calling me Todd?
No, I'm calling you Todd. Now I have you
Listen, Tracy, quiet down. But we poor Pete, he just said the wrong name. He was trying to get into the most. Now, I do want this to be a little bit of a vintage vocab. So I'm 98% sure that I know what you mean when you say line art multi-pack. But how about, Pete, you describe it for the person who doesn't know what line art multi-pack means?
Yeah, absolutely. And it has nothing to do with line art baggies, which is a completely separate vintage vocab that Bill can go through. But for the Empire Strikes Back line, there were 3 sets. And keep me honest here, Bill. There were 3 sets that came out with basically just a blue outline of the characters on the boxes. It was 2 different 4-packs. One was called the Star Destroyer 4-pack, and it had Vader, Bosk, IG-88, and Fett in it. There was a Heroes one with, and this is where you'll have to keep me honest, Yoda, Luke Bespin, and who were the other 2 in there? Find that one, and we'll come back to that. Part of the reason I don't remember is it is out of the 3 the rarest. And then what's funny is the least rare for 3 is a 15-pack that came out. And you actually see those more, probably 3-to-1 at least, on any of the other ones that come out there. And what's interesting about that is where the 2 4-packs are actually almost a scene of the figures. Like the one with Darth and Fett is actually like a scene from the Star Destroyer, and the one with Yoda and the other guys is another scene. These just literally have the 15 figures with little pictures of them, just kind of like chalk outlines in blue. And they're, honestly, for the simplicity of them and where they kind of fit into the mythology of vintage Star Wars collecting, they're breathtaking. I mean, it's a very, very cool scene. It's very different. It's unique unto itself. And it's interesting because Kenner only did it for 3 and then abandoned the concept and moved forward with a completely different concept after that, which was just a blank box.
Well, so it was basically the only time they would really show what they looked like. It actually kind of looks like just like little drawings. And I believe, if I can find it, the pretty cool thing, Stephen and Pete, if you look up line art multi-pack ESB, the first things that show up are Chivecast Market Watch.
Yeah, I remember I said that. I think I remember those sounded familiar.
Yeah. So the 4-pack is R2, 3PO, Yoda, and Luke.
Yep.
So does the 15-pack go for more than the 4-pack, even though it's less rare?
Not really. To be honest, the last one that I saw, granted it had some pen marks in the box. It came from our friend Zach Tan out there in California. $3,000 for it, and that was with all the figures sealed in great baggies. I've seen the box alone for the one with Luke and Yoda go for over $2,000. With no figures in it.
Hey, wait a minute, Steve. I think Pete just shoehorned in a whole multi-pack episode in the middle of our baggie episode.
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Yeah.
Multipass.
Multipass. You know this multipass. Lilu Dallas, my wife. We're newlyweds. Just met. You know how it is. Bump into each other, sparks happen. Yeah, she knows it's a multipass. Yeah, anyway, we're in love.
They're interrelated.
It turns out they're interrelated. Who knew besides most of the people who listen to this podcast? And none of the people who host it. Awesome. Well, we were going to talk about non-USA baggies, but I've decided, after looking at that feature that's on Star Wars Forum UK, that is entirely a whole nother ball of cheese wax.
It's a disaster.
So we're just going to stick with Kenner baggies. And I think, Steve, that's the main things we need to know, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think all your questions pretty much one way or another got answered, so that's good.
And now, the first time ever on the Star Wars Collectors Archive podcast, one of the hosts buys something from one of the guests. Enjoy as Skye tries to spend most of the episode figuring out if he should mention the price or not. Will he mention the price? Will he not? Stay tuned, Space Freaks. It's all unveiled with Skye Buys a Baggie!
She was with the Russians too. My baggies.
Now, I do have a question for you as far as Cantina Collectibles goes.
Yes, sir.
So I actually see that you have baggies for sale.
I do. I think I do.
Okay, so it says here that you have a Chewbacca in a heat-sealed Star Wars B Kenner baggie.
Okay.
So
I believe you.
If it doesn't say sold, do you have it here?
If it does not say sold, I still have it.
Awesome. Well, this will be a Chivecast first. I want to buy it. So
awesome.
You could put that in your market watch, Pete. I am buying a Star Wars B because I imagine there's a Star Wars A that would have come with the early bird, right?
There's actually two Star Wars A Chewbacca's. There's one with the text and one with no text. Some people don't realize that, but the baggies are identical. Everything's the same, just no white text. So there is a version of Chewie with no text.
Okay.
So yes, they exist. Yeah.
But, you know, I kind of wanted one from the Star Wars baggie, so it's a made in Hong Kong. So what do you think, Steve? Is this exciting or what?
I think it's great. Live purchase.
Yes. So we'll have to email about, you know, PayPal and all that stuff. But it's because I actually see it, and now that I understand that there are there's up to 25 possible Chewbacca baggies, I don't feel, at least
not
at this
true.
point,
There's 7. There's 7. I don't think we talked about that, but I actually can tell you which 7 baggies Chewie has turned up in.
Oh.
Now, I really don't want to be dogmatic about anything, because as soon as you say something is, you know, only A, B, and C, then B turns up.
Right.
Yeah.
We
So
don't care about that on this
defender,
podcast.
but-
We don't care about that. We're just going to say it's definitive, and if people don't agree, they can email us.
There you go. No, they'll email me telling me how, you know, that I'm unaware of all these recent finds, and, you know, I don't know what I'm talking about. So, but yeah, Chewie's in 7 bags, so I can send
That's
you the
manageable,
list if you want.
Sky. I think.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, you can send
It's
me
pretty manageable.
Send me the list, and I'll start off by getting the SWB, which will be my well, actually, it's not my first baggie. So you break things into categories, and what I like is that you break it 1 through 4 in terms of rarity, and then 5 is there's only like one of a kind.
5, I think, are like pre-production pieces. So, like, you know, you'll see a Luke Hoff turn up in a baggie, some sealed baggie. It's a first shot. You know, that kind of thing. That's that would be a. But now, some of those rarities probably need adjusted. You know, it's like with the Power of the Force coins. You know, we've seen over the years that certain coins that used to be, you know, somewhat available are now impossible to find. You know. Baggies are kind of the same way. So, like, the Black Bespin Guard used to be really tough. I think that piece, again, is another figure that is only in 1 or 2 multi-packs. He used to be really, really tough. But then I bought a collection from somebody, a Kenner person, and I had 30 of them, you know. And that piece used to sell for $75 to $100, you know, pretty regularly. Now, I mean, I haven't sold one for a while, but I mean, the last ones I sold were much less than that. Cloud Car Pilot is still fairly tough, you know. But so there's probably a few of the categories that we could go through and adjust. But I don't think there's any major changes. I don't think you're going to see anything that was a Category 4 now all of a sudden is a Category 1 or 2.
Right. So the only other baggie I have is actually stapled to a quality control sample.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
but
that is great.
Yeah.
It's upstairs. I couldn't tell you what kind of bag it was to save my life. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it says Kenner. I don't know if there's text on it. I don't know if the text is vertical or horizontal. There's all these differences that I am now understanding can make it one of those kind. Skye here. You don't think I could pass up this moment to share some more knowledge with you, did you? Anyway, I have now discovered that it is a ROTJ D baggie. Now what makes that interesting is it's the only baggie that says made in Macau. It is heat sealed and crisp. So what's cool is it's actually on the archive. Joseph Iglesias owned it before I did. And there's a little write-up about it by Ron Salvatore. So here is his write-up about the Chewbacca bagged production sample that is upstairs in the Chewseum. Quality control samples like this would be sent back to Kenner from their vendors in the Orient so they could be reviewed by the toy company. An engineer in charge of the line would typically have to sign off on the product as well as make suggestions for improving it. This, of course, is Chewbacca. The note mentions that the brown color of the plastic needs to be darker, but it looks like any other Chewbacca figure. sometimes I think these guys ask for changes just because they figured it was their job to do so. And you know what? I'm actually so interested in this, I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to look at the Baggie a little bit closer, because I don't know what even a made in Macau Chewbacca looks like. Like, I don't recognize any of my Chewbaccas as having made in Macau written on the back of the leg, so they must have something else written there. Do you want to find out what it is? I'm going to pause it and go find out. Much as I suspected, it doesn't have any made in on the actual figure. It just has it sort of blacked out or kind of fudged out. So, yeah, I guess that's this Macau factory, which raises a whole nother set of questions. When did Star Wars start making toys in Macau? It must have been only during the Return of the Jedi era, but we haven't really studied that yet. And also, what's the deal with Macau? What is Macau? I mean, why don't they have one called Mabul? Alright, I'm going to look up a history of the country of Macau and then get back to it. Because doggone it, I'm interested. Oh, geez. Down the rabbit hole I go. Turns out Macau is officially known as Macau, Special Administrative Region of the People's Republic of China. So this is like one of the special administrative regions. So it's connected to mainland China. It's in the sort of southeastern part, like where Florida would be on China. If that's not the most American-centric description I've ever given, I don't know what it is. It used to be administered by the Portuguese Empire, and it is apparently totally controlled by China. Like, China has its military defense, but it has its own legal system and its own security force, like a public security force, its own monetary system, its own customs policy and immigration policy. Wow. And apparently it's one of the world's richest regions. Its GDP per capita is higher than any other country in the world. Oh, I guess because it's got a lot of banks there? Wow, Macau is interesting. Not as interesting as this Baggie. So that's the next question is, how rare are Macau Baggies? All you Baggie experts are listening to this. Let us know on Facebook, whatever, chivecast@gmail.com. Hit us up.
My baggies.
Yeah. That's a sweet piece. In fact, our buddy Ron, he's got a piece that I really covet. I don't know if I've ever told Ron this, but he should know this. But he's got a bagged Luke Jedi sign-off sample with a little quality control index card stapled to it. And Ron doesn't know this yet, but he's going to have to fork that over at some point. So. I have to have that. That's just a great piece.
He does not respond well to the pleas of focus collectors.
I know he does, and I'm going to have to find something to tempt him with, I think. So
if I were to say that I had that, would you know what kind of Baggie was attached to it? Would it most likely be just a standard Baggie, or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
those are typically standard Baggies. Yeah.
And that would not be considered Category 5. That would be considered whatever category it is, stapled to something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Exactly.
But now that I've done this research, I realize that all of the QC samples that are Baggies stapled to index cards are all for the Macau factory. So that find must have been linked in with somebody who was doing QC for that factory, which must have been new at the time. So every single one of those QC samples stapled to that index card is a piece of history trying to make sure that the Macau factory is up to snuff. This is awesome. This is like another discovery. All right.
Now, another rare piece that you guys seem to enjoy hearing about stuff that's rare is a small head Han. That's another piece that's really, really tough. Pete, you concur with that?
Oh, absolutely. Ridiculously difficult.
It is ridiculously tough to find.
That one was only available in one way, right?
Well, that's previously what we thought. We thought it was only in the special offer. What piece was that had
the X-wing, or was it something
else? Special offer?
It's probably in here. I remember reading that some time back.
So anyway, that was, and typically that piece, it always turns up in a Star Wars A bag, and the tape is always yellowed to the point that it's either dried and come loose, or it's like just hanging on by a little tiny bit of sticky. But Todd has actually managed to turn up a couple other examples of a small head Han. So, but still ridiculously rare. And when those pieces turn up, again, I mean, Pete, have you seen one sell recently?
No, not in years.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, and it wasn't the X-Wing. It wasn't the X-Wing, obviously.
Yeah, the X-Wing.
So it was in the special offer X-Wing. So the special offer X-Wing itself is really rare.
Right.
And we would just have a couple figures included in it, and the only way to find it, wow. So that's rare within rare within rare. But listen, my computer is telling me that this interview is over because it's saying low battery and it's in the other room. But I did want to do one more thing. I wanted to have a competitive market watch against Fratastic Pete. Are you up for it, Pete?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And Bill, as one of the old guard, you'll be great because you'll be able to say, oh man, I can't believe that price is crazy. So I'm going to go get the power charger, and I'm going to use the restroom and get some water, and then we'll have a crazy market watch against Fratastic Pete.
Awesome.
$1 Vlix. Market Watch.
All right, I just came back from the bathroom. They were having some kind of discussion about how to set up and what it's like being a dealer at conventions. And it turns out the answer is, it sucks. Okay.
Oh, hey, Skye, by the way, the one question you didn't ask that I thought you were going to ask, and
Yes.
maybe it's because it's obvious, but there is no vinyl cape Jawa in a baggie. That piece doesn't exist.
So this is a Chive cast first, where Steve has a market watch for Forlom, and we are actually here with the other market watcher. So we're going to see if you're able to stump the chumps, Pete, if you're able to beat Bill and I at this game. And as always, part of the rule is, you write down what you think it is, and you don't change it, and then we read out our scores, and we see who's closer. And whoever's the closest gets the point, right?
Right.
Sounds good. Do we have Price is Right rules on it? If you go over, you're out.
No, it's just closest. The only rule is you can't, listen to everyone else and go, oh, well, if you think it's 500, I think it's more. Like, you have to write it down.
Yep.
Okay. So, you now may begin, Steve.
All right. So we have 6 auctions here, and they're all carded figures. We'll start off with some ESB 48C Forloms, okay? So up first, we have, it's an ungraded one. The bubble looks to be nice and clear. The card is not punched. It has a price sticker. It looks like the card back might be a little bit wavy, but it's not graded. So that's number 1.
Okay, not graded. ESB 48C Forlom. Okay. I have my number written down. You guys have your numbers written down?
Yep.
Okay. I went either high, low, or right on the money with $301.
Okay.
I am really low. I'm going 175.
Okay. And Bill?
I was 275.
Okay. Well, this is kind of an outlier. It sold for 413.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Eat it,
Skye takes number 1. All right.
Kappa Nu.
Good job, Skye. I
Phi
get
Beta
credit for that
Kappa.
too, don't I, Skye, right?
Yeah, Bill, you and I are on the same team.
That's right. We're on a team. Good job.
That's right.
What? This is 2-on-1? Who said that? Oh, man. I need Mike here.
Yeah. All right. So up next, we have another 48C. This one is graded AFA 75. So the subgrades are C75, 80, and F90. Now, take that for what it's worth. So yeah, graded example.
So this is tricky because anybody who wants a graded ESB Forlom, this is it. 48C is basically the only way. There's only
Yellow Is it a Y designation?
No Y designation.
Ooh.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to write down.
Unpunched?
Unpunched.
Unpunched.
Graded a 75 overall.
Okay. I am ready.
Okay.
Skye?
I wrote $291. I think that it's
Okay.
going to get less because it's a low grade.
I would be on the same page as you, Skye, but I actually went to 350.
350? Okay. And Bill?
I'm at 325.
325. Well, that one went for 361. So that goes to Pete.
Oh. He's cheating. He already has the answers. Okay. Well, so,
All right.
so 375, that's cool. Because what I was thinking was that there was a chance that it would be really hard to find a 4-LOM 48C. Like, it would be really hard to get any kind of ESP 4-LOM. But if you can get one for under $500, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised at all that the 75 got less than the ungraded one. It just seems like 75 is either in line or about 5 to 10% below what a comparable non-graded would be. It just seems like 75 is either in line or about 5 to 10% below what a comparable non-graded would be.
Huh. Well, that's good to know. That's some market watching.
That's what we do, man.
All right. So up next, let's see what we got here. Okay. So we're going to go into some Jedi figures. It's a 48D graded AFA 80 with the yellow designation. Okay.
So 80,
yeah.
Y80,
Yep.
Return of the Jedi 48, 4-LOM.
Yeah.
Punched or unpunched?
It's unpunched.
Unpunched. All right.
All right, I have my number written down.
I've got mine.
Okay.
I wrote down $202.
Go 2, okay. And Pete?
175.
170.
Ah, Pete, you dog. That's what I was going to say. I'm going to say, I'll say 185.
185, okay. 260.
Wow.
Man, so Skye again.
Wow.
I'm known for my humility, so I'm not going to bask in this.
I'm just riding your coattails, baby.
This might be 2 months in a row of me winning this game. This is weird.
Okay, so we got a couple more. What's up next here? Okay. So this is a Jedi 65A graded AFA 80. The bubble is clear and it is unpunched.
AFA 80?
Yep.
Clear bubble, unpunched.
You want me to shoot first this time, Skye?
Sure.
Okay. I'm going to go 315.
315, okay.
And I went high because everybody's crazy, so I wrote $502.
Okay.
I don't like that laugh.
Wait a minute. What am I missing here? This is a 65A Jedi 4-LOM with a yellow bubble.
No, not yellow.
Clear bubble. Clear bubble. Okay,
Yeah.
clear bubble. Wow. Well, I'm way off because I had 200.
227.
Oh,
Well, you're not way off.
All right.
Okay, I was way off.
Did I win?
Yeah, you got that one.
Nice.
Sweet.
Padding
So in our
our
little
lead.
scramble here, you finally got to use one of my shots. That's awesome.
You have no idea how embarrassed I am missing the 2 Jedi ones so far.
All right. Okay, so we've got one last Jedi one. This one's the 77 back. It's not graded. The bubble is clear, and it's unpunched. It's got a couple price tags on it. That's about it. The card looks maybe just a little bit weighty, but it looks pretty nice. So 77 back.
All right.
All right.
I'm going to go $150.
$150, you said?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you see, I went a lot more than $1.50, but that's what he said, so that's what's going to count. So I said $110.50.
I'm at 125.
Okay, 1 second. So Bill, you said 125, and Pete were
125.
Okay. All right. So this one went for exactly 125.
Yeah, baby.
Whoa! With a 3-point bonus for going right on the money.
Thank you.
Bill runs away 4-2 to 1.
So there you have it. There you have it.
So,
Bill got
congratulations,
Bill got 2.
Bill.
Skye got 2.
Yeah, you are now the other half of the Market Watch. I'm sorry to tell you, Pete. It's been a good run. Thank you for your service.
You know what? I thought I was supposed to report the news, not guess the news.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Oh man, that's good. That's good. Congrats.
Yeah. So the one weird one, was that first one for over 400, the ungraded one. So there you go.
Wow. Well, that was fun. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. Then I think the only thing we have left to do then is, Pete, we did the lightning round with you in the past, right?
Kind of. Yeah, kind of. I think when it was when both Mike and I were on. We kind of did half and half of that. Like he did half of the questions, and I did half of the questions.
Oh, okay. What was that? 15 years ago? Oh.
Something like that.
Okay, so then maybe we'll do the same thing again, but we'll ask Bill. Bill, are you ready for the lightning round?
Sure.
Okay. Steve, should I even ask the stupid "What's your favorite bad line"? Do people like that?
It's always interesting.
Okay, what is your favorite bad line from a Star Wars movie?
Is this prequels included?
Sure.
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Any line from the scene from Attack of the Clones when Padme and Anakin are rolling around in the little field there, or he's feeding her this little piece of fruit. Any one of those lines, worst ever.
Master Obi-Wan would be very grumpy if he saw me doing this.
There it is.
Yes. Master Obi-Wan would be very grumpy.
There you go.
Okay. In the event that your house was unfortunately burning down and you had to grab one item, what would it be and why?
Oh, man. Oh, wow. It would probably be... I guess it would probably be my proto-molded, hand-painted Luke Jedi with the proto-weapons and the really dark brown cape. That's probably what I would grab.
I'm sorry, that's the wrong answer.
That is... I'm sorry.
Yeah, the correct answer is the Luke Jedi photo art. That is.
Well, I was going to say a close second is the photo art.
No, that's first. I'm sorry. We can let your proto whatever just burn up because that photo art. My God, that is awesome. It's rare that I ever get to correct somebody on this, Steve, but I had to correct them because the world will not notice losing another whatever hard copy flippy doppy, but that photo art. Okay. Sorry, I'm famous for my love of 2D materials. Okay.
Understood.
Do you have a Grail?
A Grail that I don't own?
Yes.
I guess you mean. I'd like to own. I'd love to own a piece of wax in my Focus. I don't think that's probably going to happen. But I would love to own an actual sculpt.
Of anything.
I would take anything. I won't be greedy and say it has to be Luke Jedi. It can be anything. I'd like to have the Luke and robes. I think that would be a great piece, be a nice compliment to the run I've got put together. But again, it's so tough. I mean, I know this is probably a whole separate segment, but The market is just so crazy, and people ask me all the time for my opinion on the values of certain pre-production pieces, and it's gotten to the point where I've almost stopped answering because I don't know how to price this stuff anymore. It's so crazy. So like for the Lucan robes, it's a great piece. I'd love to own it, but I'm sure wishing that I'd ponied up the $4,500 that I probably could have got it for when Kathy auctioned it off years ago through her little email auction, as opposed to now when it's probably going to cost me $30,000 or $35,000. I just can't, I can't justify that kind of price tag at this point.
Right. So the Lucan robes, we talked about that maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago. Yeah.
So that's the prototype. It was featured in a German catalog, right? Or a French catalog.
Yes, that's right.
It's featured in a French catalog. And it's a Luke Skywalker figure that looks different. It's a Luke Jedi figure in which he has molded robes, right?
That's correct. That's right. That's exactly right.
And there's only one of those known?
No, there's more than one. I mean, I don't know that I know the exact numbers. I think there's probably, 2 or 3, maybe 4 out there. Not many for sure.
So it's kind of like the bald-headed emperor. It's sort of super rare, totally awesome. You definitely should have probably bought it before 2013.
Well, that's when Kathy did her little auction, then I mean at the time $4,500 was a lot of money. I mean, it was unheard of at that time to really pony up that kind of money for a hard copy. Now, nowadays I don't think you could touch that might get you an arm and a leg, for certain characters,
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Like a real one would cost you an arm and a leg. Otherwise, you just have to get an arm and a leg.
That's right.
Now the final question, Bill, is the most complicated.
Okay.
And we'll probably end up having to just kill a little bit of time talking to Pete while you think about the answer. But if you were a piece of vintage Star Wars memorabilia, which one would you be? Not what would you like to be, but if you could actually encapsulate your personality, your essence, in a piece of vintage Star Wars memorabilia, what would you think? Okay, Pete, why don't you and I talk?
Like how I can't price my own collection.
Hey, none of us can. So should we check back on Bill, see if he has an answer to this question?
Well, see, you threw me off when you threw in the line about my essence. What's my essence?
Yes.
Because my initial response was going to be Chewbacca bop bag.
Okay, that's great.
I'm probably going to stick with that.
Okay, why would you be a Chewbacca bop bag?
Well, for those of you that have never seen me without a shirt, that's your first clue. My wife, my wife, God love her, she saw me and was smitten. Let's see, this would have been back in like '93, I guess. I think I had an Alonzo Mourning jersey on, and I remember she's like, "Why are you wearing that?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Look at your back." I'm like, "What's wrong with it? It's just got a little hair on it, So I'm quite hairy. And the bob bag thing, man, come on. If you're married, you got a bunch of kids, you feel a little beat up on every now and then. So.
But you keep coming back for more. So that's the beauty of the bob bag.
That's right.
That's what the text says.
Because I love them.
It's like beat the crap out of Chewie and he comes back for more. But,
and I'm just resilient. I keep coming back. That's right.
But, of course, the Chewbacca bob bag also features the early art, which was before Lucas put his foot down about Chewbacca ever looking angry. So he is a pretty angry-looking Chewie. He's not cute. He's more fierce.
I don't think I'm too angry. I'm pretty laid back.
Yeah, I think that comes through. So awesome, guys. Thank you for enlightening us about baggies and multi-packs and everything.
Is my check in the mail, Skye?
Yes, yeah. Well, I was wondering, Steve, should I do a market watch with Pete to ask him how much does he think a Chewbacca 12 Chewbacca SWB Kenner baggie should go for? Because if he says it's a lot more than it's priced, then I wouldn't want him to try to raise it. But if he says it's a lot less, then I wouldn't want him to feel weird that he's selling it super high. So I didn't know, Steve. Should I ask him?
Pete, you know the drill here.
I know the
what you have
drill.
to do.
I know,
All right,
and I have to slam the fact that, Chewie is a focus collecting character. I mean, it's not Han Solo, but no. I wouldn't even know where to go, man. Honestly, with a Chewie baggie, depending on which one it was, they're all over the place. Maybe 100 bones on it.
All right. Oh man, I'm getting such a bargain. It's $99. Yes. Suck it, Bill.
Perfect,
I got you.
That's funny because if you'd asked me, I was going to say I thought I had 85 on it. So.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll accept 85. That's fine. And
You can have
also,
it for
you
85.
also have a Troopy baggie, which I'm kind of excited about. Because you may not know if you don't watch Facebook, Bill. I've been really working on having everyone call stormtroopers troopies.
Don't listen to him.
And so this is a Troopy baggie. So that's pretty. You have that for $75. And
we can make a package deal here.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, maybe.
I'll hook you up.
A Troopy baggie and a Chewy baggie.
Ooh. Troopy baggie and a Chewy baggie. Yeah. That's right.
No, definitely that will be probably by the next time I record. I'll take a picture with my my baggie. So awesome, cool. Well,
that's awesome.
Good night, guys, and we'll see you at the next celebration and hopefully sooner.
Absolutely,
guys. It was a pleasure.
All right.
Have a good night.
All right, Steve. Well, that was fun.
Yeah, that was great.
It was fun because I really have never seen Bill away from Tracy.
Yeah, no, when you mentioned that,
I don't think we've ever had Tracy on the show, have we?
I don't think so.
Well, we should really remedy that because Tracy Hamilton has contributed a lot to this hobby.
Absolutely.
And it is really funny to have. You know what it's like? It's like the KB 2-packs. When they don't quite go together, or it's like a multi-pack where the figures don't quite go together. You know, like Bill and Tracy, it's like the R2 and 3PO, but like having Fratastic Pete and Bill is like having like a Gamorrean guard and like a stormtrooper. It's like or troopy. Sorry.
Oh, jeez.
A gammy and a troopy.
Oh, stop it.
Hey, people do say gammy. That's not me.
I know.
All right, Steve. Man. Well, I believe brings an end to our show.
I think so. Yeah. When you just mentioned Tracy, that gives me an idea. And I don't know if we talked about this before, but did we want to do like an episode with the removable limbs 3PO and the sensor scope R2 to try and get some previously unspoken to guests on the show?
Yes.
Want to try that?
Yeah, that sounds fun. Okay. We should try that, and maybe even before we start Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. Because those are Empire figures. Yeah.
Yeah. Good thinking, Steve. Well, we already talked about the feedback a little bit. I don't actually have the mental energy at this point. I'm fighting sickness and rabies. But that does just leave one last thing to do, everybody.
Oh, God. I already know where this is going. I feel like I've tanked and gone to last place by now.
Well, the thing is, Steve, this year has been by far the worst year I've ever had at fantasy baseball. I've made stupid trades. I've picked up the wrong prospects. I drafted poorly. I've done everything terrible. Like, my team is a mess. Like, there's no way I'm going to win this year, no matter how inherently amazing I am at the sport.
But you will beat me. That's a given.
Well, that's the nice thing, Steve, that I just discovered I am now beating you. It was actually only yesterday that you dipped below me. You are at 54, and I am at 55.
Of course. Not even at the All-Star break yet.
Yeah, not even the All-Star break. So, that's our exciting news. So next month we'll either talk about other stuff, or we will talk about...
Right. Either way, I'm looking forward to it. So.
All right, cool. Well then, wampa wampa.
Adios.
Star Wars figures. R2-D2. Chewbacca, Luke, and Princess Leia. They're the Star Wars Early Bird set of figures. These action figures are not yet available, but this Star Wars Early Bird certificate package is in stores with its colorful Star Wars picture display set and certificate.